Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. Hi, Marion.
Hi, Katie.
Marion and I are excited to spend time with you all today and talk about the importance of stem cell preservation for your family. We've participated in many virtual expos and we love to interact with our future Cryo-Cell families. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. Our goal today is to educate you on the importance of stem cell preservation and talk about how the process works. Among the many decisions associated with being a new parent, we know that one of the most important is to preserve your baby's umbilical cord stem cells. Saving your child's stem cells really is an investment toward your family's future health that can last a lifetime. So before we get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Katie Persons, and I am a cord blood educator and territory manager. I've been working with Cryo-Cell and our families for over 8 years, and I am joining today from the Florida market. And Marian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Great Pray to Go Expo. So great to be here. I am the senior cord blood educator for Cryo-Cell and the community relations manager, and I've worked with over 10,000 families over the last 23 years. So this is a real honor to be here to educate you on something that I'm extremely passionate about, and that's cord blood stem cells and the preservation of them. So great to be here with you, Katie.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to be back together again, Marian. Okay, so with introductions out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. And be sure to stick around to the end of our presentation because we have a special expo offer that we are excited to share with you. Okay, Marian, so let's get started. We are going to address the most frequent questions that we receive from expecting parents. So I'm going to ask the questions and Marian is going to answer the questions. So with that, our first question today is, what is cord blood banking?
So you are all very fortunate in that you can collect the blood that's in the umbilical cord right after the birth of your baby. That umbilical cord blood is an extremely rich source of the baby's master stem cells that have very little exposure to viruses, vaccines, environmental toxins. And these cells can be used for 80 disorders. So it's an amazing cell to capture. It's the youngest, most pristine, healthiest stem cell that you can collect and save. Once you collect them with a cord blood collection kit, your bank, Cryo-Cell, would preserve them for you, and they can be stored, we believe, indefinitely for future use.
Yes,
one other point I want to make about the cord blood stem cells, it's been in use for over 30 years. And when I started educating families 20 more odd years ago, there were only 30 indications. So the ability to bank these cells will allow you to keep up with medicine, what are the advances, because currently we have 80 indications. It's more than doubled, Katie, in 20 years.
That is a really good segue to kind of lead into our next question, which is, what is cord blood banking? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, what are cord blood and cord tissue stem cells? Thank you.
Right. So we're very fortunate again that we're able to collect and preserve both the master blood cell, which is in the cord blood, which is indicated for 80 disorders, and there is a second master stem cell that's in the cord tissue in the Wharton's jelly that harbors these beautiful, young, pristine what we call master structural cells. They give rise to all structural cells in the body, and they're currently being used in clinical trials for children and adults for multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's for adults, bone and cartilage repair. I'm really excited about the cardiovascular repair. The cord blood, why it's been used for 80 indications, it is also moving into a field called regenerative therapy, where we're now using cord blood stem cells to reduce inflammation in the body. for example, for neurological disorders such as stroke or autism. I think it's extremely important that families know that the benefits of these stem cells are that they're very young, they're very unexposed, they have a homing mechanism as a stem cell, and they'll migrate to areas of inflammation in the body. And they can regenerate outside their cell type, which makes them very valuable in medicine, in repairing damaged tissue, such as lung tissue, where the cord tissue now is in clinical trial and showing efficacy just on the news today in reducing lung inflammation.
And so, Marion, you've kind of touched on what some of the benefits are for cord blood and cord tissue. The reason that you choose to store them. Can you talk a little bit about some of the other benefits of why I should save my baby's cord blood and cord tissue stem cells?
So to me, this is one of the most important decisions a parent will make today before their baby is born, because you can, once these cells are discarded, to retrieve these cells. These cells are very, very special in that they are the youngest, most healthiest cells that you can collect today in a non-invasive environment. That means nothing's going to change with your delivery. Once the cord is cut, even after our delayed cord clamping, your provider will insert a needle into the umbilical vein and collect the remaining blood into a cord blood bag that looks like this, and it's completely painless to you and the baby. So it's the easiest way to collect cord blood, cord stem cells. And again, you will never have this opportunity to collect these cells that are so pristine, so healthy, so unexposed. And what we also know is that it's most likely everyone in the immediate family will be able to benefit from the cord blood, because it's much easier to match cord blood stem cells to adults and other siblings because of the youth of the cell. And also with the cord tissue, another major benefit is it requires no matching. So anybody in the family can use these young, beautiful structural cells to repair bone, to repair cartilage. So these are very important reasons to really carefully examine the decisions as to why you want or not to collect cord blood stem cells. I believe, knowing this field and being on this journey for so long, that there is so much more to come. I mean, just out of COVID-19, we know now that the cord tissue is effective in reducing lung inflammation. It can actually migrate to the lungs cord tissue when transfused through the vascular system and reduce inflammation. And that's another characteristic of cord blood and cord tissue stem cells. One opportunity, so safe, so easy, almost anyone in the family could use it, and this field will continue to explode and move forward. And the ability to freeze them in their state where they remain viable is extremely important for families.
And just to kind of piggyback on what you've said here about obviously those stem cells are a perfect match, an acceptable match for mom and dad, and there's about a 75% chance that those stem cells are going to be a match for siblings who share the same mother and father. And just to let you guys know, about half of the stem cell transplants from Cryo-Cell have gone towards siblings, which is why we recommend storing the stem cells for all of your children.
We have a transplant record that we release. It's on our website. We'll have the link here. This is extremely important guide for you to see how these cells are being used, where they're being used, and just get an idea of the treatments that are available to you.
And Marion, one of the benefits that we wanted to touch on today was, vaccinations and COVID-19 in regards to stem cells.
So vaccinations do not affect your baby's cord blood at all, and either does if the mother has COVID at the time of delivery. That does not affect your cord blood stem cells. So you should proceed as normal to collect your cord blood stem cells. In fact, they find that mothers that do have COVID during delivery, those antibodies will transfer over to the baby. So it's a good thing, in the sense that the babies will receive the antibodies, but absolutely no problem with collecting cord blood at the time.
So another exciting advancement that we've recently had at Cryo-Cell is the introduction of our brand new transfusion clinics that are coming in January 2022. Can you tell us more about them and why this is so pivotal for collecting cord blood at Cryo-Cell?
So we are very fortunate in Cryo-Cell as being the first cord blood company that established this entire industry to have come to an agreement with Duke University, who is responsible for the autism, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury transplants using cord blood. We are going to be licensing those therapies and now make it more available to families to have their child's cord blood or a matched sibling, because the FDA has approved a matched sibling, to receive a cord blood transfusion for a neurological disorder. And autism has been treated for about 10 years at Duke with cord blood stem cells. We know these cells will migrate to the brain because they react to inflammation. They receive a signaling. They will pass the brain barrier, which that and alone is a major benefit for collecting these cells. The inflammation of the brain and with autism, but not just autism, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury. We've done a couple of transplants already for children with near drowning incidents, speech apraxia. There is a 1,600 family waiting list at Duke for transfusions, and Cryo-Cell being the first to open a stem cell infusion clinic will help with these families that are on a waiting list. The clinical trial requires a criteria and is much harder to be accepted into because it's a limited amount of families they can accept. The clinic will be able to accept anybody who has stored cord blood at Cryo-Cell or another bank that meets the criteria that Duke set, and will be able to have a transfusion. And it's so exciting. This is a pivotal time in stem cell medicine, what we call cellular therapy or regenerative medicine. And we're the only bank that will be offering this stem cell treatments with the infusion clinic, and that will be of January of 2022.
And we are spending a minute here talking about this because this is just such an important topic for families. And there is a waiting list at Duke right now. It can be a little bit lengthy. So we are just excited that we will be able to further assist families and shorten that wait list time for families that do need a stem cell transfusion. So thank you for talking about that. Okay, moving on.
Oh, sorry, Kay. There's just one question I see about grandparents using it in the chat. And I did want to mention that because we are seeing more of that. Because cord blood is so much easier to match up to extended families. There's a story on Cryo-Cell on my Facebook page of a grandparent using his granddaughter's cord blood for one of the blood disorders. So there is a possibility, yes, once the matching, the typing is done. And if it's not a full match being we match by tissue markers, now 5 blood type, and that's 6 on 6 tissue markers, we can do a partial match, which long-term studies show is just as successful with a partial match as a full match. So we're really confident that immediate family members, grandparents will be able to use these stem cells.
Yeah. Okay, so we have talked about, what is cord blood banking. We've talked about cord blood and cord tissue, the benefits, and then also our clinic that's going to be opening. So with that, let's talk about for families that do store, have made that important decision to store. Now we get a lot of families that want to know, how many uses can I get out of my stem cell collection?
So Cryo-Cell's led the way on this. We always felt that we know that families want to use the cord blood stem cells multiple times. So we had converted with the FDA approval to a 5-chamber multiple storage bag. This is new, great technology. It allows for 5 independent resealed units. So actually we can send this out to 5 different times, 5 different recipients, and there still will be stem cells available for what we call cell expansion, where they can replicate the cells outside the body. So that long tube is actually going to contain aliquots where we can send them to the transplant facility to test it and to accept it before we even send full chamber. So it's really exciting. And as somebody who's been in this field for a very long time, that is a must, in my opinion. You must store with the bank with the newest technology, and the 5-chamber bag will give you many more opportunities for use.
Absolutely. Multiple treatment opportunities is key with this 5-chamber bag. Okay, so now we want to know, how are the cord blood and cord tissue collected?
So the process is really easy. You would register, with Cryo-Cell. We do a phone intake. Katie and I can help you. We would just get your, personal information, where to mail the kit, what program you're thinking of, because you can change your program until we get the kit back. You may start off with cord blood and cord tissue, cord blood. All of our Cryo-Cell kits come with a cord tissue container, so even if you decide at the last minute to collect the cord tissue, you can. But once you get the kit, it will come to your home. You will then fill out a maternal health questionnaire that will be archived with your cells, and then you would take that kit to your hospital, inform your provider. Your provider will do the collection at the time of delivery. And then it's completely painless to the mother and baby. We want you to journey, your birth plan. And then while the cord is cut, again, as I mentioned, your physician will insert a needle into the cord blood umbilical vein, and it'll take about 5 minutes to fill this bag. And then if you decide, and we hope you do, because the cord tissue is amazing in itself, if you decide to collect the baby's master structural cell that gives rise to all cells and structural cells in the body, Katie and I are showing it'll be in this cup. It'll be a 48-inch piece of the cord. Once everything's collected, we ask that you then call Cryo-Cell no more than an hour after you have your baby. These are our parent instructions. And then we will schedule a medical courier. This cannot be transported back by mail or Federal Express. We must send them a courier, because we want and need to get these cells processed within 72 hours of delivery. And then once we get it back at the our FDA, AABB, and FACT accredited lab, the most accredited bank, we'll inform you that we received it, and then within 60 days you'll get your results of your stem cell collection viability. And if there's any problems with the unit, or if it's a low stem cell recovery, our nurse will contact you usually a week after the delivery to let you know.
That's
I'm
terrific.
just going to look at questions real fast so we can, because I know people are asking about that. We are also a hybrid. We are a public and family bank as well, but you have to deliver at a donation site in order to donate. You cannot just go to your hospital, right, Katie, and donate. So
that's correct. We have seven public locations around the U.S., and some of them are not currently operating because of COVID. And but yes, public banking is an option at Cryo-Cell, public and private banking.
Right. Exactly. So if you are interested, you can feel free to reach out to me and Katie, and we'll see if you're delivering at a hospital that has a donation site. But it's extremely difficult right now to donate. It's really basically comes down to the two options, which is family bank for your family, which is always, in my opinion, preferred, because the success rates are always much higher when you use genetically related cells, or donate if you can. And that's the question, if you can.
Absolutely. And we know that those stem cells are going to be a perfect match for baby. And again, an acceptable match for mom and dad, 75% chance of a perfect match for siblings. So absolutely, we recommend storing for every member of the family. So the last thing that I want to do is first let from here in about 2 minutes, when we wrap up, Marion and I are going to be heading straight into the Cryo-Cell booth, where we're going to go live. We will continue the conversation and also answer questions that you all have. We usually get a lot of questions following our presentation that people post in our chat. So we want to get all those answered for you. So please join us in our booth in just a moment. And then the last and very important thing that I want to do is share with you an exciting offer that we have for our Prego Expo attendees. So we're currently offering really a great price, guys, $675 for cord blood. That's over $1,000 off, and $1,175 for cord blood and cord tissue. So additionally, right now, for the first 20 Prego Expo attendees that enroll at Cryo-Cell, we're also offering a $50 e-certificate to Amazon that you'll get in your email as soon as your enrollment is complete. So if you are considering stem cell preservation, we highly recommend that you take advantage of it, of those offers. So that's what we have for you today. Please join us in our booth.
We still have about 4 minutes, Katie. So I'm just gonna address a couple of questions that are on chat.
Yeah, that's great. My computer is ahead then, so that's perfect.
So Miguel, thank you for your question. So if you go to transplant, we have a nurse that has worked with all of the transplant facilities in the United States, being the first cord blood bank in the world. We have luckily that have had experience working with the hospitals and sending out the units. You would inform us, and then we would get in touch with your transplant physician and prepare the testing of the cord blood for a tissue match, and then it would be sent directly to the hospital. These are frozen in liquid nitrogen. They can be frozen indefinitely, and they will be sent directly to your facility. But our nurse, which is another major reason I love being part of Cryo-Cell, has been working with transplant facilities for 13 years. And our medical director, Dr. Joanne Kurtzberg, is also renowned. She is head of the pediatric oncology program at Duke, but she's also responsible for bringing to us the autism, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury transfusions, which are now showing efficacy and now emergency approved for children and going into now expanded access. So that's how it's basically sent. Also, I saw a question about adopted siblings. There should be a genetic match. So if it's a half sibling, there's still a great chance that those stem cells can be used because partial matches are so more successful with cord blood stem cells. Remember, as I said, you will never find a cell like this that is so young, so pristine, so healthy as far as the exposure to viruses and vaccines. So this is a real opportunity, and we believe that even half siblings can benefit, and grandparents. Also, somebody was asking, do we know people that have benefited from cord blood? Absolutely, thousands. We have been using cord blood stem cells for over 30 years. I myself have worked with families that have used their stem cells for cerebral palsy, speech apraxia, autism, and you could go to our transplant record, which I believe Valeria from Cryo-Cell has posted for you, and see all of the families that have actually used and benefited greatly from cord blood stem cells. And then finally, I just want to say, when you're using cord blood stem cells for the 80 indications, which are very serious life-threatening conditions, neuroblastomas, retinoblastomas, leukemias, it's the last resort. That means the child or the family member, chemotherapy has failed, medication has failed, they have to reboot the entire immune system. So they then start to look for stem cells, which give birth to new cells, from the family first, because they're much safer and we see much less rejection. Out of the 40,000 transplants for cord blood, the success rates are now showing between 80 and almost 90% success rates because of the pristine nature of these cells. So yes, many thousands of people have benefited. We have a number of stories on our website, and we're happy to help and answer all of your questions.
Yes, and Marian, I just want to say before we get bumped off here, I just want to mention that yes, we have over 500,000 families that have stored with us at Cryo-Cell. I myself have done it twice. Marian has done it for her family, and we would love to help you, and we are happy to work with you one-on-one through the process. And there was a comment there about our customer our client service reps, that someone just reached out to them and that they were able to help her through the process. So we are very fortunate to have a very knowledgeable client services team of inside reps that is always available to walk you through the process and answer all of your questions as well. So we are going to end here now, and we're going to go live into our booth where we can address all of your questions and kind of continue the conversation there. So Marion, thank you so much for posting your information. Valeria just posted the offer, and so we'll just switch booths here.
Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you.